One of the greatest people I ever met also had one of the best names, Effie McAdoo. And meeting her was actually one of my earliest memories. I was about 4.5 years old. And my grandfather was a pilot. He had first started flying in 19 teens, somewhere in there, and had all kinds of patents having to do with aviation. And so he would come and visit, he and my grandmother, once every 2 months or so when they weren't in Canada. And he would arrive by way of his Cherokee 6 airplane. And he was very wealthy. And so I looked forward not only to my grandmother visiting, because my grandmother was nice to me, you know, she would kiss me. There were no hugs or anything, but I got a grandma kiss. But I also look forward to their coming because my parents behaved. My mother had a habit when people came over, she would lock me under the kitchen sink, telling me I was too ugly for people to see. And my dad got drunk on a regular basis, and if I was around, I got knocked down and then he kicked. But when the grandparents came, the adults behaved because they wanted to be in the will, of course. So no kicking around the firstborn grandchild when the grandparents were around. Everybody behaved, so I had all kinds of reasons for looking forward to my grandparents visiting. And of course we knew when they were going to be coming down. And Grandpa had the habit, he would fly over the property, do a circle a couple times to let us know that he would be arriving. He kept a Buick Electra at the airport in LaBelle, a little airport, mostly for crop dusters and such, but he kept that car there purely for the visits to us. And one of the nice things about having lots of money, you could do things like that, right? Anyway, my grandmother would wave with her little hanky. She was very formal, and I would see her out the window. And so this day, I saw the airplane. I was so excited, and 4.5 years old, and running around like a little chicken with its head cut off in the yard. And I'd seen Grandma wave, and I was all excited. And it took a while, of course, for the plane to land and for them to make their way out to the property. And finally, the Electra comes cruising up our bumpy dirt road of a driveway and pulled up close to the front of the house. So my grandmother didn't have to walk very far. By even my earliest memories, she had already had several strokes and was frail. But on this day, there was something different. Now, my grandmother was in the back seat, which was not unusual in that day. Women sat in the back, men in the front. But there was a man I'd never seen next to my grandfather. And in the back, I could just see the top of my grandmother. She was a tiny little woman. And I could just see the top of her head. She used to wear these hairnets with glass beads, multicolored glass beads on it. I could just see that. And of course, I'm focused on that, and she's on the passenger side. So I'm all focused on, oh, Grandma's here. And, the car stops, and the men get out and gallantly open up the 2 back doors. Because there was something beyond my grandmother I couldn't figure out, but anyway. And I ran up and I got my grandma a kiss. And as I turned, around the hood of the Electra came this vision. My God, she was wearing this purple paisley shimmering dress that was made out of one of those synthetic fabrics from the 60s, that was probably carcinogenic, but it looked fabulous. And I can still see the buttons. It had these black buttons with rhinestones. Oh my God. And on her feet were gold lame slippers, which I was to later learn she wore with everything. But I'd never seen anything like this before in my life. And on her head was what today I would describe as something that's looking like, a chorus girl's laundry basket, which who knows what was up on her head. Effie would put anything on her head. Another thing I was to learn in the future. In any case, this creature comes around the front of the car. And I see her and she sees me. Our eyes lock. And she steps towards me and right into... Yeah, you guessed it. One of the hounds had left us a gift. And she looks down And the first words that I heard this vision say were, "Oh shit! Doggy doo-doo." And I knew right then and there in my little 4.5-year-old heart that when I grew up, I wanted to be her.